subscribe and hit the bell.
The city was nothing like the small town I came from. Bangkok was a whirlwind of noise, color, and people, and it swallowed me up the moment we stepped off the plane. My parents had always been travelers, and this time, they had brought me along on their adventure to Thailand. I was just a 16-year-old kid, trying to keep up with my parents' wanderlust. They were enthusiastic explorers, venturing into the heart of foreign lands with an insatiable curiosity. But as we wandered through the bustling markets of Bangkok, something changed. The market was a maze of stalls, selling everything from vibrant fabrics to exotic fruits. I couldn't take my eyes off the intricate jewelry and colorful trinkets on display. Lost in the sea of people, I turned my head for a second, distracted by the vibrant chaos. And that's when it happened. One moment, I was surrounded by the cacophony of street vendors and the rich aroma of street food. The next, I was alone, the crowd having swallowed up my parents. Panic set in as I desperately searched for them, weaving through the bustling market, calling out their names. But my cries were lost in the chaos. I couldn't find them anywhere. Fear gnawed at me, and my heart raced. I tried to approach strangers, to ask for help, but the language barrier was insurmountable. I was a stranger in a strange land, lost and alone. As the sun dipped below the skyline, the bustling market became a labyrinth of shadows. I realized I had no choice but to find a place to stay for the night. I was alone in Bangkok, a city that seemed as vast and unknowable as the universe itself. With a heavy heart, I embarked on the uncertain journey of survival in this foreign city, my thoughts never straying far from the parents I had lost in the city of angels. The days that followed my sudden separation from my parents in Bangkok were like an intense crash course in survival. At 16, I was forced to navigate a city where I didn't know the language, the customs, or the streets. It was a daunting challenge, to say the least. My first priority was finding a place to stay. I managed to communicate with a kind-hearted local vendor who directed me to a nearby hostel. The place was simple but clean, and the friendly staff helped me book a bed for a few nights. That was my first taste of independence, booking accommodation, managing my own finances, and navigating the city's bustling streets. I needed to earn money to sustain myself, and I quickly learned that being resourceful was key. I picked up odd jobs wherever I could, washing dishes at a street-side eatery, helping tourists with basic translation, and even offering guided tours for English-speaking travelers. These jobs paid me just enough to cover my expenses, and I learned to haggle in the markets to make every baht count. As time passed, I began to form connections with fellow travelers and locals. I found solace in their camaraderie, as they shared their experiences and offered advice on surviving in a city that seemed so alien to me. They became my makeshift family, and I relied on their wisdom to navigate Bangkok's intricate web of streets and alleys. One of the most significant challenges was learning the Thai language. I enrolled in a language school and spent hours each day studying, practicing, and trying to grasp the nuances of this beautiful but complex language. Speaking Thai not only improved my job prospects, but also deepened my connection to the culture and its people. As the months turned into years, I managed to save some money, enough to consider my next big step, finding my parents. Clues from old family photos and letters pointed me to a distant city I had never heard of before, Yashkarola in Russia. The search for my parents had begun, and it would take me to places and experiences I could never have imagined. With a backpack full of hope and determination, I left the city that had become my unexpected home. The adventure was far from over, and my journey to find my parents was about to take me across borders and into the unknown. Yashkarola. It was a name that had been etched into my mind, a place my parents had mentioned during their travels. Armed with that fragment of information, I embarked on a new chapter of my life, one that would lead me to a distant city in Russia in search of my family. Leaving Bangkok was bittersweet. The friendships I had forged and the experiences I had accumulated over the years were difficult to part with, but the yearning to reunite with my parents drove me forward. The journey to Yashkarola was an adventure in itself. I navigated trains, buses, and even hitchhiked through multiple countries. I faced language barriers, cultural differences, and the stark reality of being alone in a vast and unfamiliar world. But I was fueled by an unshakable determination to find my parents, to bring our family back together. Upon arriving in Yashkarola, I encountered a city that felt simultaneously foreign and strangely familiar. The language, the architecture, the people, all were a world away from my American hometown. Yet, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was where my search needed to begin. My first task was to find a way to support myself while I continued my quest. I took up a job as an English teacher, relying on my language skills to make a living. It was a humble existence, but it provided me with the means to sustain my journey. Yashkarola was not an easy city to navigate. The Cyrillic alphabet proved to be a formidable challenge, and I relied on the kindness of locals to help me decipher signs and directions. Over time, I grew to appreciate the warmth and hospitality of the Russian people, who often went out of their way to assist a bewildered foreigner. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. I combed through records, contacted local authorities, and scoured any lead that could point me in the direction of my parents. The process was agonizingly slow, and at times I felt like I was chasing a ghost. Then, one fateful day, a chance encounter with a retired librarian led me to a breakthrough. She recalled a couple that matched my parents' description, a pair of adventurous travelers who had settled in Yashkarola years ago. The anticipation and excitement were overwhelming as I followed this lead, my heart pounding with hope. As I stood on the threshold of discovering the truth, I realized that this journey was about more than just reuniting with my parents. It was a journey of self-discovery, of resilience, and of the unbreakable bond that ties families together. Yashkarola, with all its mysteries and challenges, was the stage for a reunion that had been years in the making.
Thank you so much for listening to this story, guys. Check out our other videos.